Hello, my name is Asha Samput and welcome to this new edition of Business Africa, your magazine dedicated to the continent's business and economic news. As usual, you can win $150 in our Business Africa game. More details later, but first, today's top stories. The Republic of Congo is improving business financing to respond to the discontent of small agribusiness entrepreneurs.
Local banks? Well, we did ask them. We went to see them, but it was negative. We can't talk about it. They have their reasons.
Fight against the degradation of natural forests in Uganda. The authorities have set up a program to plant artificial forests.
What is happening in Uganda, for example, is that wood fuel. Most people, for their energy, to cook and for heat, they use wood. So, if we don't do anything, the forest will disappear.
We head for Djibouti, the gateway to the continent's submarine fiber optic cables.
Some countries had absolutely no access to the submarine cable network. Countries and places such as the Comoros, Mogadishu in Somalia, Madagascar, and Mozambique.
In the Republic of Congo, small entrepreneurs specializing in the processing of agricultural raw materials could have a bright future ahead of them. But they see a big gap between their prospects for market opportunities and the lack of funding to bring quality products to the market. The result observed by our journalist was a certain disillusionment in the Pointe Noire workshops. Jean-David Mihamle has the story.
In downtown Pointe Noire, this brand still seems unknown, yet it is here that Jean-Maurice Wakatulu has chosen to take up the challenge of processing 100% Congolese cocoa.
Starting up a business is all about motivation, and then you have to have the right people who can support you. Afterwards comes the questions of means.
Lots of hurdles on the way when it comes to finding the resources, the means of financing.
No, during the whole process I did not receive a subsidy or a loan from the state. It's all self-financing. That is to say, we sell, we save a little, we assemble the machines, and it's how we grew.
What about local banks? Are they receptive to initiatives like this small cocoa chocolate processing unit in Pointe Noire?
Local banks? Well, we did ask them. We went to see them, but it was negative. We can't talk about it. They have their reasons.
What then of the distribution channels? A real jungle whose logic seems to escape the entrepreneur chocolate maker.
We were, even companies, businesses, even shops. No, we don't use Congolese products. We only take Congolese money. Distribution is difficult.
In any case, the promoter of Cocoa Wack is convinced of the virtues of his chocolate.
I respect processing and quality standards. I do respect them. And so we have cocoa. The cocoa is not pirated like with other brands. There is no peanut paste in there. It's 100% cocoa.
Whatever the obstacles, blocked distribution channels or blocked funding, Jean-Maurice Wakatulu has great ambitions.
Our goal? Well, we're ambitious. We want to be the kings of chocolate in Central Africa. That's our dream.
Chocolate with peanut butter, this time in Nyogo, in the 6th district of Pointe Noire. Here we are at Mboto, a very small company with 6 permanent staff, set up 2 years ago by Jules Malonga. In the absence of its promoter, it's his assistant who serves as our guide.
Firstly, I would say that it's hard to find people willing to finance entrepreneurship, to finance entrepreneurs back home here in Congo. I wouldn't say that it's not possible, since there are those who have businesses, small businesses, who've had the funding. But as far as we're concerned, we asked the PADEC, the Economic Development Support Project, for funding. And although we applied, we didn't get any financial support.
Here, we are also faced with the problem of the distribution channel. Supermarkets are a little wary.
Even when you can get a sale, say in a supermarket, they have their own way of doing things. They calculate their margins. They're very aware about that. They put in the margins, and these margins can't be changed.
But there's a positive acceptance of peanut butter in the market, officials admit, and it's a great sign of encouragement.
Yes, I can say that there is a good return. We have received good feedback from the public since we started production. There are customers who like the product. And today they're buying. And we are also selling elsewhere in other households, where people are buying the product. And luckily I can say that the product is popular with the public.
Consequently, the promoters of this industry harbour legitimate ambitions of greatness.
Our first goal is to put quality, nutritional products on the Congolese market. And then how to establish a foothold in agriculture to improve peanut production conditions, especially in Congo.
Perhaps a good omen for the diversification of a Congolese economy too dependent on oil.
And it is actually to help these very small to medium-sized Congolese enterprises that the country's government authorities in January launched a guarantee and support stimulus fund, the figure with more than 22 million euros. And to discuss the situation of small entrepreneurs in the Republic of Congo, I'm joined by Philippe Bouty-Viodo, Associate Director of the OBAC firm operating in Central Africa. Hello, Philip. Thank you for joining me on Business Africa. Well, we've just heard in this report the difficulties of access to funding, which are pointed out by these small agribusiness entrepreneurs of Pointe-Noire. Is it a widespread problem?
Alors, oui, malheureusement.
Yes, unfortunately, the problems or the difficulties of access to financing are quite widespread for small and medium-sized businesses. But I still want to qualify this statement because when we look at the last report of the Bank of Central African States on its monetary policy, we see in fact that between 2019 and 2020, there was a 1.5% jump in credits to the economy, and the distribution of these credits is as follows. There is 64% for the tertiary sector, 30% for the secondary sector, and we have barely 6% for the primary sector.
But yet, is there still a reluctance of banks to lend?
Well, in reality, the responsibility lies with both parties. When we position ourselves at the corporate level, we realize that there is a problem of undercapitalization. That's the first point. The second point is on the problem of structuring projects. When you're a small business, you have to be able to structure a project, be able to control its operational risks, financial, strategic risks, and so on. And third point, there is also a problem that arises, which is that of guarantees. When we position ourselves at the level of banks, we see that the main challenge is that of mobilizing long-term resources. Because to be able to make long-term loans, banks obviously need to have deposits.
Are there other sources of funding?
There are other sources of funding. There are initiatives, for example, us within the consulting firm, we have succeeded in structuring a network of business angels, which tends to grow. Today we have nearly 237 business angels with whom we work. We set up seed funds, mini seed funds with partner schools. There are other private initiatives that exist. The state is absolutely not left out since recently. There is a guarantee fund that has been set up, the FIGA, topped up to 15 billion.
Should these efforts be further intensified?
We must be able to work on strengthening equity, and to work on strengthening equity, we can structure business angels networks. We can set up seed funds, investment funds. We can even work on junior debt mechanisms to be able to strengthen the quasi-equity which allows companies to raise more capital.
Thank you, Philippe Bouetiviodo. Deforestation continues to gain ground. The NGO Rainforest Foundation in Norway estimates that 34% of tropical forest areas were destroyed due to exploitation and land conversion, mainly for agriculture, between 2002 and 2019. Most of the damage took place in South America, but Africa is not spared. The damage is most serious in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where more than 48,000 kilometers of forests disappeared between 2002 and 2019. Well, how then do we preserve forests in Africa? In Uganda, where forests are threatened as they are overexploited for heating with wood purposes, some have chosen to cultivate trees commercially, and a program has been launched to help forestry professionals, a way of doing business while conserving the region's forest heritage. A report from our correspondent, Kenny Kiza.
Uganda has nearly 5 million hectares of forests, accounting for 24% of the land area. These forests supply the bulk of forest products to the country's population of over 27 million people. This is in form of firewood, timber, and herbal medicine. The current forest cover is, however, under serious threat from the increasing population, which is in dire need of land for agriculture and other forestry products. The current forest degradation stands at a rate of 2.2% per year. Conservation of forests.
So what is happening in Uganda, for example, is that wood fuel, most people for their energy, to cook and for heat, they use wood. So if we don't do anything, the forest will disappear. So the pressure on forest is intense. So we have to provide, we have to help the commercial forestry to build up, their capacity, so they can provide wood which is renewable. These commercial forestations.
The European Union has in the past 7 years contributed over 22 million euros to the forestry sector. The money has been used to address critical issues under the Forestry Conservation and Management Program.
What we've done so far is to do some inventories of biological inventories of these natural forests, and then go on to zone them and begin to manage them, to make sure that our biodiversity is managed properly and maintained. The second theme is, which is closely connected to that, is sustainable forest production. And that is largely production in the natural forests, where you can produce timber, where you can produce non-wood timber forest products, where you can actually harvest them.
The European Union has set up a special fund under the Soil Log Grant Scheme specifically to encourage the private sector into commercial tree farming. This is intended to create artificial forests that would help relieve the pressure on the natural forests.
So there is assistance by us going to this sector, and we see good response, in fact, under this project, which is called the Soil Log Production Project. And also we provide technical assistance to the Forestry Authority to be able to manage sustainably this sector.
The administration manager of the Soil Log Grant Scheme acknowledged the support of the European Union. He says the country is in short supply of forestry products, especially timber.
The country, we stopped planting in 1972, and population has been growing, and timber requirements have been growing as well. If you look at the country today, at a population of over 25 million people, our timber requirements necessitate to say that we should be having not less than 70,000 hectares of timber plantations, of high quality, fast growing timber plantations. But as I told you, we have only less than 2,000 of the mature plantations, and the little efforts that we have just started.
With support from the Soil Log Grant Scheme, the private sector has embraced commercial tree growing. The farmers, however, have to adhere to certain conditions before accessing the money.
You must have land, as I said, of not less than 25 hectares. Own land, not where you're squatting or whatever. You must prove ownership either through land title or through letters of LC, local administration, to say that, yeah, this is your land, and that's when we start working with you. You must be ready and willing to accept our technical guidance, so that whatever you do it according to our standards.
Many farmers have set up pines and cypress tree plantations on a commercial basis. Joseph Yama says that apart from the monetary gains expected from commercial tree growing, he is happy with his contribution towards conserving the environment.
It has changed what we would call microclimate. So since we started planting, we used to have seasonal rivers, but these seasonal rivers have since turned into more or less permanent rivers or streams. They are not really rivers, but streams.
As we have been able to employ very many people who are benefiting from working for the company. At the same time, we know that in the end, we have, depending on your growth of your commercial trees, then at the end of it all, you have a payment you're receiving back.
The Forestry Conservation and Management Program emphasizes the need to bring on board the local people, especially those near the natural forests.
We started it back towards the end of the 1990s with the EU in collaboration with NORAD. And what we do is we come and talk with the people around the forest, actually discuss with them a lot about the importance of the forest and what they can do and what they benefit. Then eventually when we are together, when we have built the confidence, then we come together, we do an agreement, and then we start managing the forest together.
Uganda's natural forests are a source of tourist attraction due to a variety of tree species that are not common in many countries. Apart from that, these natural forests are a home to a number of birds and mammals.
I'm visiting the birds today. I've seen many birds in my life. I came and just walking in Mabira forest this morning, I've seen 2 new species for me. I've taken video of many others, species that I cannot see outside Uganda or are very difficult. And anyway, I would have to be very happy.
The contribution of the European Union toward forest management and conservation in Uganda has already yielded results. Forests which had been destroyed have been restored. It is hoped that the continued support of the EU in this regard will help protect and preserve Uganda's treasured forests from destruction.
Welcome back to the second part of our show. The UK has returned to Nigeria nearly $6 million in ill-gotten gains. This is money which had been laundered in England by a former senior official in the country. The money should be used for local road infrastructure projects. Further efforts are still expected at the international level to return these illegal financial flows to their countries of origin. French Member of Parliament recently spoke out in favour of redistributing these funds confiscated by the courts in France in the form of development aid in Africa. And still in Nigeria, the country has launched the rehabilitation of its main railway line. The approximately 1,443-kilometre line will link the oil centre of Port Harcourt in the south of the country to the town of Maiduguri in the northeast. The $3 billion estimated work will be carried out by a Chinese conglomerate and 15% funded by the government. It is planned that the line will be connected to the new deepwater port of Bonny, the construction of which will also be carried out with the assistance of China. The race for telecommunications infrastructure continues. A new scramble for Africa is even underway, and it's technological this time. Facebook and the world's largest telecom operators have put $1 billion on the table to build an undersea cable that will link Europe, the Middle East, and 16 African countries. Google also announced its own submarine cable project to connect Europe and Africa via the West African coast. Could the massive investments of multinationals to connect Africa to the internet run up against the mistrust of the African authorities? The organizations Access Now and Keep It On Coalition have in any case counted 20 voluntary internet shutdowns carried out in a dozen of African countries this year. We were in Djibouti, one of the major entry points for the continent's telecommunications networks, to see these famous fiber optic cables that connect the continent and are seen as an essential support for the digitization of the economy.
Late afternoon in Bel Bella, a popular neighborhood west of Djibouti, the capital, the young entrepreneur Kadra Duxier is visiting her partners and clients, a total of 4,000 subscribers and 100 boutiques. And what is she selling exactly? At first sight, her product might seem to be superfluous for a population of refugees displaced by war and famine. Kadra's telecommunications company has developed a platform specializing in electronic payments by cell phones. The system is a well-known and very popular means of payment in East Africa, but here in Djibouti, it is the new kid on the block. Kadra's idea was to make the service available to those who, somewhat surprisingly, needed it the most.
We contracted the World Food Programme as they are used to using the electronic payment system with our neighboring countries of Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya. People there are very satisfied with the services proposed, as it has made money transfers easier. Distribution of food and supplies was done hand to hand, and now the process has changed, with money being transferred directly to the beneficiaries, who then, in turn, go to the stores to buy the food and supplies they need. This saves them time and restores their self-respect, as they no longer have to wait in interminable queues. Everybody wins.
Such an innovative service is, in many respects, thanks to the cell phone network set up by Djibouti Telecom, a network that has 366,000 subscribers. This figure pales in comparison to those of continental Africa, but Djibouti does have a major advantage, the key to which lies on the other side of this wall, in an unassuming neighborhood in the capital. We are in the Haramous Submarine Cable Center, one of the stations where the transcontinental underwater cables pass. Here are 4 of these vital cables, a superhighway for much of Africa's internet traffic.
This is a section of the actual submarine cable. Some countries had absolutely no access to the submarine cable network. Countries and places such as the Comoros, Mogadishu in Somalia, Madagascar, and Mozambique. Now, thanks to this cable, all of these places have access to international telecommunications.
In all, no less than 7 submarine cables, including 3 international cables, transit via Djibouti, where they are interconnected. Which is why Djibouti has such a vital role both in terms of system maintenance and in supplying a whole range of associated internet services. Little wonder that Djibouti aims to become a data center for the entire continent. This data center was inaugurated in 2013 and is already home to a dozen operators and overseas internet access suppliers. From these servers, their internet traffic heads for Djibouti, and from there, via these submarine cables from continent to continent.
Nous avons une position géostratégique qui est unique dans la région.
We have a unique geostrategic position in the region. 30 African operators now get their internet service via Djibouti.
Pour tout leur trafic Internet. Nous avons investi.
Over the past 10 years, we have invested more than $10 million to have these transcontinental cables make landfall in Djibouti. As a result, we are in a unique position concerning the international transcontinental cables. No other country has a comparable infrastructure.
Cutting-edge infrastructure already in place and new submarine cable projects on the way. And yet, here in Djibouti, not everyone is concerned they have the best service at the best possible price. In the capital's internet cafes, clients have noticed a clear improvement in the quality of the service provided. But they are not overjoyed at the price they have to pay.
Oui, c'est cher, mais en tout cas, il y a la société de Djibouti.
It is expensive here, but Djibouti Telecom are doing all they can to get the price down.
D'améliorer et de baisser le prix, d'accord? Alors comme nous sommes un pays de
As we are an African country, we hope the situation will improve.
on espère que ça s'améliore.
The government intends to use the technological breakthroughs to improve the quality of its administrative services. Since 2016, a new intergovernmental agency has been working to standardize the state's computer networks, with, notably, a project to set up the first government portal to facilitate administrative procedures. The new agency also has a data center.
Le data center répond à une question essentielle de pouvoir mutualiser.
The data center is a solution to the problem of pooling state computer resources. Some have more advanced tools and resources than others. The data center solves this inequality in terms of the availability of computer resources and, above all, satisfies our demands in terms of security.
The private sector, especially in the banking milieu, does not intend to miss out on the new telecommunications era in Djibouti. Governor of the central bank, Ahmed Osman, is ready and waiting.
We have set up a legal framework enabling operators to provide mobile banking services. It is open for the banks, for Djibouti Telecom, and for any other operator. In other words, everybody can use the mobile banking system in Djibouti.
Back in Balbala, Kadra Duxie is more than ready to launch her cell phone payment service for Djiboutians across the country.
There are many innovative services to set up. The demand is there, and we need private sector players to make that happen.
The clients for these offers are there, from Balbala, the heart of Djibouti. Banks are also well aware that their growth also depends on their ability to provide mobile payment services and e-banking. The national operator, Djibouti Telecom, which has a monopoly of telecommunications traffic, is already in the starting blocks for this lucrative market with a global platform, making it possible for all the actors concerned to provide their clients with mobile payment facilities.
Well, it's now time to reward our loyal viewers of Business Africa. It's up to you to answer to the following questions. If you're drawn among those who have given the correct answers, you will win $150. This is game number 547. So listen carefully to the two questions that follow, and good luck. First question. What does the Mboto brand of Pointe Noire produce? Peanut butter, cocoa, clothes. Second question. What is the surface of the Ugandan forest? 10 million hectares, 5 million hectares, or 2 million hectares? You know the answers. You can participate now by going to our website, africaonair.com, answer the questions, fill out your form, and good luck. And of course, don't forget to include your contact details, name, address, telephone, email, and the number of the game you are entering. With the answers, of course. This game, for example, is game number 547. The winners will receive $150 as our winner this week. Congratulations, you gave the correct answers to our game number 543. Here are the details. First question. When was the incubator of the Institute of Tropical Agriculture in Ibadan, Nigeria, established? Answer: 2012. Second question: what percentage of West African GDP is cocoa? Answer: 22%. Well, that's it. Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel, for a new edition of Initiative Africa. We'll meet Frédéric Bach, commander of the French surveillance frigate Nivose, who will tell us about his mission in the Indian Ocean. In the meantime, you can catch this program on our website, africaonair.com, as well as on all our social media channels. Feel free to share, like, and comment using the hashtag Business Africa TV show. Well, take care of yourselves and see you next week. Goodbye.